Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. Welcome to today's Grain Market Blast with myself and the awesome Angie Setzer, where Angie will provide a rapid roundup of the latest pricing flows and market moving news in agricultural markets. But before she does, I will get the legals out of the way. So as usual, nothing discussed on this space session constitute trading or investment advice or infers any kind of endorsement by PIQ Global Limited, trained as PIQ or PIQ Suite, or indeed that of the hosts, which, as you know by now, is myself, Mr. Ryan Paisley, and the awesome Mrs. Angie Setzer. Good afternoon, good morning, Angie. Well, happy Monday.
Oh, happy Monday to you too. It is now the 24th of March. And so I don't know, for those of you tripped out by how long January lasted and how quickly February and March have went by, welcome. You're among
Yes,
friends
yeah,
because
welcome to the
I
club.
have no idea what happened. Like, it's crazy, and here we are. It's a big week ahead though. So if you guys love directionless, I think trade is what we'll see. Probably exceptionally volatile directionless trade this week is probably going to be what, at least what I expect to see, where we're probably going to be trading really, really aggressively in our range because we have a lot that's coming at us that is super unknown, super uncertain. And so that's what we're here for, right, Ryan? To kind of help people
Yeah, exactly
assess
that.
what that is. So step one, or the first thing that we're seeing, a lot of the headlines that we're getting out today, we get our Monday of news after the weekend of media shows and all of these other things. And so now we have April 2nd. It's coined Liberation Day. So those of you who know what to wear to Liberation Day, please cue me in so I can get some stuff ordered here. I'm think I'm gonna go with like cut off shorts, blue jeans, and maybe an American, something July 4th esque. But we're slowly learning more, about what the administration's plans are, which will, on Wednesday for the rollout. And we're hearing some things that I think, I've talked about this for the last couple of weeks. Like, we're on an emotional roller coaster. We're on an emotional cycle. We're going to go from, or we went from kind of like, oh my God, the world is ending, to wait a minute, maybe this won't be so bad. I'm kind of excited and optimistic, to, oh God, I don't know what I was thinking a week ago. Like, the
Yeah,
world is ending. And then we're kind of back to, well, maybe we can poke our heads up. It won't be quite as bad as what we had anticipated initially. In the U.S. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett spoke to Larry Kudlow here over the weekend and kind of said that, like, the market is expecting really large tariffs on every country across the world, and that's not what we're doing. So we've seen Bessent talk about the dirty 15, which countries are looking at themselves being like, is he talking about me? I think like India and some of these others are like, oh crap, he is talking about me. But that's what they're saying, is like, there's only going to be a certain set of countries that are going to experience the largest increase in tariffs, and that, really, when it comes down to it, we could see some announcements of rollbacks of tariffs, even, if we're really truly going to the reciprocal side of things. And so it'll be interesting to see too, because if you look at like this nice little map that's floating around that points at tariff rates versus US rates, like, China is one of the few, if not the only country in the world that would actually see rates roll back. Now, obviously, you've got value added taxes, you've got regulatory things, and all of this other stuff that would play a role into that. But yeah, so April 2nd is going to be kind of a big deal. We'll probably hear more about who the Dirty 15 is ahead of the game. But we did see also South Korea. Apparently, there's a rumor circulating here this morning that Hyundai will be looking to invest $20 billion into the U.S. 5 billion of which will go into a large steel plant, apparently high quality steel. And so the thought is that, your industry leaders out of some of these countries are coming to the U.S. and saying, hey, we'll make some pretty big investments, just don't tase us, bro. And so we'll see
yeah.
what that means, or how that works out. Obviously, step two, or going to step two, we got Russia Ukraine peace talks, and all of the fun stuff that we're seeing there. We have seen some talk this morning, like Russia's like, we're going to return to the Black Sea Grain Initiative. And my initial reaction is, of course they want to do that. That was what provided them the ability to really control the flow of grain out of Ukraine. They were responsible for basically all of the inspections at the Strait, as the ins and outs worked. And really what we were starting to see in 2023, especially, was Russia was just limiting the ability to get ships ships in, get ships out, all of these things. And so people had thought when they pulled out of the deal in 23, November of 23, I think it was, that all heck would break loose. And in reality,
Yeah.
Ukraine was like, screw you guys, we're going to make our own corridor. And it worked. I mean, it's worked better actually than the Black Sea Grain Initiative. So I could see Russia wanting to return to the BSGI for a couple of different
Oh,
reasons. I look at that. First off, obviously, they love control, and this would provide them that. But secondly, one of the things in it that they're arguing that the West is saying that they're, like, bro, you don't have a leg to stand on. But Russia is like, hey, you're still limiting my ability to export agricultural goods by not allowing my bank, my Rosal Bank, the big agricultural bank in the country, to be connected to the SWIFT international payment system. So that could be the angle. You know what I mean? Like, it could just be one of
yeah.
those things where it's like, let us get back in with SWIFT. Let us be able to process these trades as we are used to, or as we used to do. Roll back some of these sanctions, etc. That could be what they're kind of pushing towards. But to me, I feel like they still want to have some control over how Ukraine is able to move some grain. And so if we do see a return to that, that'll be part of that conversation. We're also seeing, the conditional ceasefire has been celebrated, but there are a couple, we had a hit of a metering station last week that, both
Yeah.
parties say they're responsible for. And then Russia is saying Ukraine targeted another piece of energy infrastructure overnight. And Ukraine again is saying that's a false flag. We didn't do that, they did. So how today's conversation goes will be kind of interesting, because I again feel like everyone acts like we're so close, and I think we'll have a lot of agreements and we'll feel warm and fuzzy about it. But again, I don't know where we're at, or what we'll see happen there. And then point three, or there's several more points that we could talk about that were of interest. So I'll kind of call it point three, a potpourri of facts or things to be paying
Perfect.
attention to. How's that work? It'll
I
still
love it. I
stay
love it.
within the 15-minute, but there's a lot of shit to be thinking about. So we got the port fee hearing today that kicks off. It's supposed to be a 2-day long hearing. You can go ahead and check out the public docket. I'll post that again. Make sure to leave your comment if you're in agriculture and you haven't. Make sure it is respectful and that it does something to forward the industry. Don't be a toolbox. We don't need that. Anyway. So there's a lot
Yeah.
of people out there. The NGFA just put out their statement. That was one of the more recent ones to come out. Most everyone is incredibly against this fee structure as it's proposed. We even saw China's Chamber of Commerce for import and export of machinery and electronic products come out and say, hey, you can do this, but it'll destroy U.S.-Sino relations. Great Lakes Freight Associations, port members, things like that. They're saying that the smaller ports will be inordinately affected. And for me, I look at that because a lot of my growers, we kind of rely on the flow of grain in and out of the Great Lakes. We don't have a ton of ports, everywhere. Like, we're still working on the Muskegon port and some of these other things, but we do ship a lot of grain out through Toledo. We've seen the Andersons comment on that. And we get a lot of our fertilizer and other imports in via, Great Lake ports. And so it's huge. It's something to be paying attention to. We also saw China's Development Forum over the weekend where they had a bunch of business leaders from around the world coming in. To me, that's huge. I don't know, Ryan, what your thought is on that. But like, they've been playing bad cop against their own industry people. Like, they didn't
Yes.
want
Yeah.
business. And now they're
Yeah. I
like,
tell you what,
go ahead. Yeah.
it was an odd one because it was like let me just quickly, if I can very briefly call it up. Here it is. So yeah, Premier League obviously told a load of foreign CEOs two things. One, he was like, we remain open for investment. We love foreign companies, all this, which, like you said, is a bit like, hang on a second, is this what you really want to be saying when you're also trying to prop up your own industry? But he did say that China's ready for unexpected shocks, which I guess is it's a little bit bittersweet to say, because you are kind of saying, yes, there's going to be some shocks coming, but
Yes.
you're also saying, but we might be ready for them. So it
One
was a bit of a weird one. And but the thing is, well, as we know, with anything comes out of China, it very much is always all fart, no poo. So
you have
we'll
to
see where we
watch.
go with
Yeah.
this.
Well, then that's one of the things that we've seen is, Lee added that, China wants to do their part to deepen trade and economic partnerships with the
Yeah,
U.S. kind of reiterating that the importance of cooperation and dialogue is there, but at the same time, like you said, they basically have been slow rolling their stimulus. And a lot of folks have said, well, the economic data has been okay to start the year, so that's probably part of it. But a lot of folks think that is really just that way they can figure out what needs to be targeted when it comes to support,
Yeah.
as we move forward. So we'll be watching that. Another interesting fun fact that, just while we're on the subject of China, and I feel like I have to share it. My friend Darren Friedrichs from Setonia Consulting, which he'll say my maybe friend is a loose term for him. My associate, I probably shouldn't claim him without him claiming me. But anyway, he did add that corn inclusion rates was one of the things that I saw that was kind of interesting. Corn inclusion rates in feed rations in China has more than doubled over the last year. Like we're looking at the most corn used in feed since like 2020, since 2013. So thought that was interesting. Fun little fact on China. So yeah, as we move ahead, really today we're going to be
Sorry,
just
just
go
sorry.
ahead. Yeah.
Can I butt in with another question? So, what would that be at the expense of? So, obviously,
Mostly
corn.
wheat. You've seen a big movement of
Got ya.
wheat out of the rations, and mostly because last year, wheat and some other things, but wheat has been the biggest one that you've seen. They had a great
Got ya.
wheat crop last year that was of high quality. And so one of the things that I always kind of try to point out to people is we always think that we're just going to feed wheat no matter what, but in reality, that's not true. A lot of times you're going to feed wheat. It's going to be there will be a level of wheat that's fed, no matter the price or whatever. But a lot of times it's only if you have really poor quality wheat do you see that work
Right.
into feed because they have to take a discount. You have
Right.
in order to compete with corn, you have to make wheat cheaper than what milling quality wheat is. And so that's been one of the things. There's been some other stuff that they've kind of peeled out, but you're going to make me. I'm not a nutritionist, so
On the spot, I
right.
apologize.
Yeah. Look at that. But so yeah, so we'll be watching, just all of the news. Like I said, I feel like we're kind of coming to the culmination of the unknowns. Like it's the crescendo
Yeah.
of all kinds of fun things. We'll have the port fee conversation here over the next couple of days. It's gonna be weeks before we know. Like they're gonna take the public comments and as far as I understand it, they take 30 days then to kind of roll out what it will be the final number. And then that takes another 30 days or whatever to really finalize. And then there'll be 6 months before we even have that, put into place. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
all plays out. But that'll be the first thing we're watching. We've got a USDA report next week on Monday. I hate those. And so we get to spend all weekend fretting, but that one will be big. It's quarterly stocks and acres. And then on April 2nd, we get Liberation Day. So how much fun is this going to be for the
Yeah.
next 10 days?
Well, this is it, right? We've got all of that. We've also got, apparently, according to Bloomberg and Reuters over the weekend, the US is aiming for a peace deal or ceasefire deal between Russia and Ukraine by April the 20th. Delegations are meeting today, in fact, to have a go at that with prior to Ukrainian consultation. So expect headline risk on that, especially as we run up to this line in the sand, so to speak, 20th of April. Just quickly on the tariffs, obviously, as we know, we've got Liberation Day. The vibe over the weekend is that from the Trump administration is that the tariff measures will be quote narrower than initially feared, focusing on countries with trade surpluses, which is great. However, different countries measure how their trade balances work. Like, for instance, the UK believe that the US is trade surplus to us, and the US believe the UK is a trade surplus. So it'd be interesting to see how they kind of put those together. But yeah, it seems like, as you said, not that it's been quiet up until now, but it feels like the next few weeks, whereas increasingly headline driven. So yeah, one for the technical traders to be a little bit fearful of, because it doesn't matter how strong your crayon is on your chart. If you get a big headline, it's going to blow straight through it.
Oh, that's just it. And then you'll have key reversals of key reversals and all kinds of fun things.
Yeah,
So just buckle up. If
exactly.
you're a farmer who's listening, like make sure that you're, putting in your target orders for your old crop, having conversations with your buyers if you're still sitting on some. Make sure that you're thinking about getting some new crop hedged just ahead of, next Monday's report if you haven't done anything at this point. But no reason to panic. Just lots of news, lots of noise, lots of I'll use fun and air quotes at this point in time, but yeah, we will not be without things to discuss here for the next few days or
Exactly that.
years,
And on that
weeks,
note,
years, all that.
decades.
So yeah,
Uh, on, On that note, Angie, thank you so much for being awesome as always. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in, especially our regular ones. We really appreciate you. And join us tomorrow where we'll have lots more to discuss. Take care.
Have a good Monday, guys.